Good afternoon. I'm Stephen Burke. I'm the Managing Director of Resource. We're the largest independent digital agency in the US. And I run the West Coast operation out of San Francisco with clients like Autodesk and Hewlett-Packard and Clorox and others. We've had a very fruitful relationship with Don Wolf and the team at Autodesk. Don is the Director of Digital Marketing for in-trial marketing at Autodesk and has been a pioneer in that organization applying gamification to improve user trial of their complex software. Anyone who's not familiar with Autodesk, homegrown titan, creator of the computer-aided design category, about a $3 billion company, about an $8 billion market cap, very successful, sells a very complex product to high-end designers, architects, engineers, and also to game developers, has a family of products for them, and also products for the entertainment community. So a high-touch, complex product that requires a fair amount of explanation before people will buy. And Don has pioneered ways of engaging consumers that we'll talk about today. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about two projects that we have done, two gamification initiatives. And we had two very different outcomes. And so this is somewhat of an opportunity to share some learning, some best practices that Autodesk has had with gamifying our marketing. So as Stephen said, my team is responsible for in-trial marketing, and the key thing that we are trying to do with our in-trial marketing is really engage with the trial users. So trials are critical to Autodesk's business. As Stephen said, our products are very expensive. Our lowest, probably one of our lowest priced software products is around $1,200. So, and the majority of people are spending around $4,000 or $5,000 per seat. So it's definitely not a product that you're just going to buy without really having an understanding of how it's going to help your business. So trials are critical to the buy process. We have seen that trial downloads are the #1 reason for purpose of visit to our .com sites across the globe. And we have also seen a direct correlation of engagement with a trial and propensity to buy. So one of the metrics that we often point back to is for trial users who use a trial 3 times or more, there's a 2x likelihood to buy. So really getting that engagement right and ensuring that our customers and prospects have a great experience, there's a direct correlation to our bottom line, there's a direct correlation to revenue. Okay, so here's just some basics about gamification, and I'm sure you guys have heard this ad nauseum for the last day and a half, but gamification is not necessarily a game, but you're going to see that we did, in both of our pilots, create a game. It's really about leveraging the psychology and the mechanics of gaming, and we'll go through some more of this in our best practices. So the main thing is around creating engagement and creating incentives for our customers and prospects to take the next step, and ideally we really want them to see the most compelling aspects of our software products, which is hard because these are very complex software products. Most of them take weeks, upwards of months really, to actually gain any true competency in. And so we do run up against a challenge of, I liken it to giving a person who's just learning how to drive for the very first time, putting them behind the wheel of a Ferrari. What are they really going to get out of that experience? It's, turning the key on, turning the motor on. They're really not going to get out of it what a Ferrari can actually do. And so our goal is to develop an experience where customers and prospects get to that kind of aha moment where they're really seeing the nuggets that rationalize them spending $5,000 for a software product. Okay, so first I'm going to talk about our very first gamification pilot. And this was called Undiscovered Territory. So it actually was set up as a game. Resource Interactive developed an amazing storyline around it. There was a race around the world where we had different missions. we advertised this and promoted it within the trial itself, and that's the entry point. There was a tight tie-in with our social marketing, so our community sites, YouTube, Facebook, there was, this all sort of synced together. And it was extremely, extremely successful. We used many, many components that we used Badgeville. A lot of folks here a lot of this case studies seem to be based on that. And it was a very robust experience. We felt pretty confident that we would see success with this. We kind of softballed it for ourselves because the target audience for this particular product, which is 3ds Max, is gamers, game developers. So this is special effects artists, the people who create all the special effects for films, but also games. And most game developers are leveraging either this product or another one of our products, so they're familiar with it, and we felt that it was a pretty safe audience to test out gamification with and see what effect we could have really on that engagement level. And as you can see, what was on there was some of the metrics that we saw. So we saw, I think it was 54% increase in trial usage, which is huge. So we have thousands of people downloading this trial a week around the world. And what we were looking at is a comparison of first-time users and then how many of those open the trial subsequent times. And we can measure that and we can track it. And we saw a 54% increase. We saw a 15% increase in buy clicks. So we can round trip those to our own e-store and see the conversion rates. And then we also saw in this time period an increase in the channel revenue for this product per trial start. So we saw a lift across the board in all of our key metrics, and the main thing we were really looking at was that trial usage metric. So all of this other was really, from our perspective, it was gravy. Okay, next slide. So because of these results, and because we are somewhat unique in that we have a B2B example where there was a direct correlation to revenue, this initiative got a lot of attention last year. We had the Gartner Award, we had a Forrester Award, there was a ton of press covering this. PwC did a case study on it, and it got a lot of attention, which is awesome. So we were getting huge kudos within Autodesk. My team was getting prizes, bonuses, all kinds of stuff. And so we were like, okay, so we want to take it to the next step. Now we want to go after our core target market, which, as Stephen said, for Autodesk is really the architect, engineer, and construction space. So when you look around, there really isn't a building, bridge, road, anything that isn't using our product. And this is really our cash cow, bread and butter market is that segment worldwide. And so we wanted to take our learning that we had from the 3ds Max project and take it to our AutoCAD design suite. So AutoCAD is our flagship product. It is still our cash cow, and we wanted to see how gamification worked with this target audience. And so we went at it again. We had Resource Interactive. We knew the drill. We knew how to use Badgeville on the back end, and we put all the bells and whistles and did another game for this target audience. So I think we have a video here that shows a trailer that we had on YouTube and Facebook, and if we can key that up, great.
Let me get this to work. Mr. Magic, thank you.
So this game was called the Apocalypse Trigger, and it was for our AutoCAD design suite. Okay, as you could see with this little video, it's kind of the quickest way to show you what the game was comprised of. Again, it was within the trial. We had missions, so the whole idea behind it was we provided starter files, we provided tutorials for the users to experience it and move through the game. They got points for completion. There was a leaderboard. They earned different points, like for example, if they shared their work on Facebook or if they tweeted about it, there was additional points for them to get. And so we really threw everything at this, and it was very similar to the 3ds Max game. I mean, structurally, the missions, the learning, the tutorials, everything was the same. The only difference was really the target audience. Okay, I think there's a couple more slides that show it. Okay, so this was, and this is really the heart of it, this was the learning experience. So we had this incredibly robust tutorial learning track in conjunction with these data sets. And I think there might be another. Okay, now, results. We didn't see any of the results that we saw with 3ds Max. We actually saw a decrease in the product usage. Now, there's a little bit of a caveat here. We were doing a couple things at once, and in addition to adding gamification to the trial experience, we were also taking our core bread and butter target audience that wanted to experience AutoCAD, and we were showing them the AutoCAD design suite. So it was a number of products mixed together, and the whole goal was trying to get them to actually use a portfolio of products in tandem. And so we definitely saw this decrease in usage, and it's really brought us to a point of wondering, okay, so what do we take away from this? What is the key learning from it? Does this mean, you know, that initial success that we had with gamification was just luck, or, you know, beginner's luck or something like that, or, you know, or we can only do this kind of thing with the target audience that are gamers themselves? And we really don't think that. It's kind of going back to, if you go to the next slide, it's really about going back to what are the fundamentals of gamification. It's not a game. It's really about game psychology, game mechanics, and really understanding what we can do in our marketing that creates a path that's a curated experience and that leads to the behavior that we're trying to lead to as marketers. And so we're really going back almost to the basics. So it's funny, we've shown our projects to some actual game developers, and the first thing they asked was, okay, so what led you up to this, or what steps did you take before you did this full-blown game? And it's like, well, actually we started with a full-blown game. So it's now about going back and really looking at little pilots, looking at little steps to really understand with our target market what specifically moves behavior. And I think as marketers, it's really raising the bar as far as, especially for B2B marketers, to really understand the psychographic of your demographic and really understanding what motivates them. So one of our starting pilots was simply doing a progress bar within one of our most common trials around how much they've actually used the trial. So it's kind of like the LinkedIn sort of experience, you know, where are you as far as what the optimal amount of time that you have spent with this trial. And we definitely saw a lift. So we firmly believe that there is this correlation between this need to provide our customers with this curated content, and then the gamification layer on that is really providing the means for almost a conversation with them. It's that feedback loop. It's giving them some kind of feedback on what they're doing. And we really think that getting that right is critical to our company, and it is what we're focused on right now. So we're rolling out another game where we really are starting from the very beginning, and I wouldn't even call it a game. It's really looking at how do we provide these prospects with tutorials and then give them feedback and what actually works for them. And we did get some interesting feedback. I mean, one of the things that that we attribute this second gamification effort to not really having the results that the first gamification effort had was really better understanding the target audience. And I think we knew this in our hearts, but I think we were so excited with producing another one of these games, because no doubt they're very fun to create and there was so much excitement about it. But for our target audience, architects, engineers, they're in firms where there's definitely a concern around what's on their screen, and is it looking like a game, or does it look like they're doing work? And there's kind of a concern around that. And so understanding situations like that with a target audience is critical, because as much as they may want to play, they're perhaps not going to in a certain work setting. Okay.
I think the only other thing to add would be that even though the second trial was not as successful as the first, there was no backlash from the community. There was no sense that you wasted my time or you did something with me that was not favorable. It was more a matter of just kind of missing the target in terms of their attention span in part, and their work environment where they could interact with the property. But I think the other thing you've said is this has had an impact now throughout Autodesk in terms of rethinking sort of the meaning of marketing of all your products at this point.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have a number of marketing initiatives right now that are, and I'm sure a lot of you are in the same boat, where you're looking at, how do you better personalize the experience, and how do you develop engagement strategies for different audiences? How do you gauge that? And this component is core to that, as far as really understanding some basic motivational behavior with some specific target markets, and then what that translates into from a marketing perspective. What does that mean as far as how we should be engaging with them with social media, with traditional email marketing? All that kind of stuff comes into play. And at the heart of it, I mean, it really is that understanding of motivation for that target audience. And really, you have to test into that, I think. I mean, you can do focus groups, and we've done that, and you can have a theory, you can create personas and all that stuff, which I know you guys have all done. But at the end of the day, I really think that at the heart of it, you have to actually do some A/B testing and watch what the market actually does. What are they actually responding to, and help that drive your overall strategy. So our real focus right now is getting to that nugget, like really understanding how the majority of our target audience and how it differs by geo, but how they respond, how they behave, what actually moves them. And so it's about doing a bunch of pilots and a bunch of A/B testing to really understand that.
Thank you very much. We're up against our time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Dawn and Stephen, for sharing.